So here we go. Game number 1. This is the IPL Killing Spree. Epik versus FXO, and FXO will be on the blue side. First ban, first pick Akali, Zed, and Kha'Zix already out of the game. And these are... This is a lot of stuff targeted towards the top lane. Like, Kha'Zix has been an absolute menace.
Kha'Zix is insanely strong.
Akali, a targeted ban straight on over to Epik. Zed's been doing quite a bit of work too, and Blitzcrank can be the first support ban in this pool.
Yeah, no, a couple of common bans. You know, they're just all really strong champions right now. Zed's kind of an interesting one because we haven't seen Zed played for a while, but I know that I've seen Dan play some Zed. I don't know if you know, Chew 8 plays Zed, or Westrice plays Zed as well. I can see that fitting into his kit, but it's pretty cool when you see him, you know, dashing around, how aggressive he can be. It's the patch of assassins. That's what the Season 3 patch is. It's just all ridiculously strong champions at diving at your AD carries. AD carries are not safe at all right now, which really makes Ezreal a #1 pick. Ezreal not banned here. Banning Lee Sin. There are a couple of really strong picks left. I mean, I know you guys have been seeing a lot of Amumu recently. Amumu is ridiculously strong right now, particularly with the Machete. Machete has just opened up so many different junglers. Yeah. And his lockdown, if you can get an Amumu ult on an enemy AD carry, then that can just be GG, because you're playing so many assassins usually. Amumu ult is followed up by an assassin diving onto you know, that AD carry. But we'll see where they go. Shen being picked. So Shen, just a general safe pick for FXO, and then looking at MF on you know, the purple team on Epik Gamer. So that's MF has definitely also been really strong recently because she has a lot of damage early on, and her ultimate, once they reduce the channel time on that, it's just had so much damage. Her ultimate just obliterates entire enemy teams if you can protect her. That's the concern though, protecting MF, because she does have short range, but Amumu lockdown, it helps.
Amumu does help, especially in those middle of those team fights. Or just, yeah, keep everyone still, follow up the MF ult. That's way too much damage. But I do like where ADs are going here, because we're seeing the disillusion of the Trinity. You know, Ezreal, Graves, Corki, we're seeing them a lot less now.
That dissolved a long time ago.
But
Ezreal's still really strong. Graves is still very, very strong. But, you know, it's been months since we've seen only them. It's been diversifying a lot.
Yeah, but but with them falling, you need other ADs to pick up the slack, and now with all these new items, you have champs like MF coming back. We've been seeing a lot of Caitlyn coming back too, like with the Hurricane has been insane, and a little bit more flexibility in the item builds also. I think I've been seeing static Shiv actually on a number of ADs.
Well, Shiv is actually, yeah, it's funny, and that's the thing, is picking out what's the junk from, you know, what are the good items.
Yeah.
And Shiv is definitely one of those items that it's strong. I mean, Phantom Dancer took a massive nerf. Shiv gives you, it's a little bit cheaper, it gives you more movement speed, you get a little bit more burst damage, so it's, you know, kind of moved into popularity. It's really the #1 AD item that you get to get away from Zeal. Usually, a lot of times you can just leave Zeal without upgrading it, but usually you get Shiv pretty early in the game. Yeah. You know, there's just so many items. Some of the items kind of flops. Like, Riot's done some really cool things. I love what they've done with diversifying all the items. Some of them really are garbage. Hurricane, for instance, is garbage, quite honest. Like, you can't use it. But, you know, they're going to change it. They're going to work them around and, you know, figure out how they can work them into the game. But you have so many options right now, so many different choices at all stages of the game, which is very, very cool.
So over on FXO's side, so that will be a Lulu and Olaf pick over there. Still ambiguous. Not quite sure who's going jungle, who's going top between Shen and Olaf. We will be knowing right at the last possible second before we hit into a spectator delay. And that is Jason Sona grabbed up over for Epik. The only piece of the puzzle left for Epik is the mid lane, waiting for that for the last pick to go for the counter. And now it's just a matter of where FXO is going to go from here. They have to pick their AD, they have to pick their mid. I would love to see Karma, but I think it's more of a, we're not looking at SGS here. That will be a Lux, that will be an Ezreal.
Yeah, I really like the Lux pick. It's really interesting. I'm assuming that Olaf is actually going to be in the jungle, but we'll see what happens between there. But Lux has been a really strong pick recently. A lot of people have been using her.
Yep.
In particular, the binding is just insane. It gives you that really strong disengage potential, kind of like a Nivea, where you can just, at the enemy team, if you look at Epic's team, they need to engage with their ultimates. They need to kind of just rush onto FXO and, boom, there's all of our ultimates. But if FXOpen, if they can disengage with the Lux Bind or catch MF or something, if they catch MF with a Lux Bind, she's going to die.
Yeah.
Or that's at least a high potential. And then they want to bait out the ultimates. Once the ultimates are down for Epik, then FXO is going to be a little bit stronger in these team fights. They have really good burst with Lux, but then Ezreal and Olaf just have great sustain. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with their team.
Yeah, name of the game for Epik is protect the MF because they have so much stuff to keep everyone away. And is that going to be it? Is that the pick? Last pick,
cool.
Annie coming in for Epik. That might be something else.
It's interesting, though. We've seen
Ahri.
some Annie play recently.
Ahri.
Ahri is definitely a really strong pick for a number of reasons. But one thing that's going to kind of concern me in this match for FXO is if you guys saw the Marn versus FXO match this weekend for the Season 3 qualifiers, it was actually a pretty cool match, but one of the games in particular, or both games in particular, Marn, they ran a really aggressive early team comp. They had Jarvan in the jungle, and they used that Jarvan in order... Jarvan's a really aggressive early to mid-game pick.
Yeah.
He's very tanky early on. He has a lot of CC, a lot of damage, and so they used that Jarvan, and they also had an Olaf, actually. Marn had an Olaf in that game, so FXO has an Olaf here. But they used that Jarvan and that early game pressure in order to push very aggressively, and they actually just took a lot of turrets from FXO. FXO was just hemorrhaging turrets left and right, and one of the games, it was game 2 of the series, Marn actually, around the 20-minute mark, it was about even in kills, like 4-2. Marn just pushed up straight the bot lane. They took the outer turret, they took the base turret, they took the inhibitor, they took the Nexus turrets, they took the Nexus in a minute-and-a-half period because they just bullied FXO off of the turrets and then won one single team fight. And if you look at Epic's team, that's actually a very similar team. They have a team that can just win one team fight, just obliterate FXO. Like, there's just, just wipe them off the face of the map. And then with that one team fight, really aggressively push a lot of turrets. So that's going to be the concern for FXO, is that they don't allow EG to push them off of those turrets and, aggressively take early turrets, which is something that Sona and MF are both very strong at, and that they defend against that one kind of team fight.
But now let's get into that hypothetical here. What if FXO is able to withstand that early pressure if they can actually keep their turrets up? What are things looking like for them once they hit into the mid game, if they hit into the late game?
Well, their mid game is very strong as well. It's not like EG just has this insane advantage. EG in a 5v5 fight, if they get off their ultimates, then they have a significant advantage. Like, that's insane. But small team fights will advantage FXO. Lulu and Ezreal is a very strong bot lane. They can counter push very effectively, they can push decently, but they're also very strong at dueling. So they outrange MF a little bit, throw off a Glitter Lance on Lulu, you walk away or throw off a Glitter Lance on Sona, and you get some quick burst damage, and they can kind of kite around the edge of fights very effectively. Lulu's shield and Shen's ult will, keep them tanky, so those small team fights are actually going to be at the advantage of FXO, and they are swapping. Okay, I was confused for a second because I thought they were going to run Olaf in the jungle. So their small team fights are in their benefit. Lux, in particular, they want to pick off 1 or 2 kills here or there. They don't want to, force large engages. They want to be aggressive with wards, which is something that's very easy to do now, is be aggressive with wards and play a safe game. We're seeing a lot high kill games because people are kind of experimenting more, and it's just a much more fast-paced game. But it's very easy to slow it down with wards right now because Oracle's Elixir was nerfed significantly. People aren't buying it. And you have Sightstone, which is an insanely good item. I love it. If you want a replacement for that Heart of Gold, you get the Sightstone. It's just so strong. So you can drop wards all over the place. And that benefits FXO's team because as long as they have vision of EG, that means they're not going to get caught, and that means they can try and pick people off with either Lux or Ezreal. Yeah.
Not to mention, we also have the blue wards coming in also.
Yes, blue wards are awesome.
Blue wards are pretty damn awesome.
And the Total Biscuit.
And the Total Biscuit.
And the Total Biscuit. I wish I could do a Total Biscuit voice. I don't know. That was really off. But
it's been a while since he's visited the office too. Like we have his autograph up on the wall. I don't know. I'd like to have him come back again. That was fun.
Yep.
But
it's pretty standard masteries, but it is interesting. I mean, 0921 I think is standard for supports. It's very strong to start off with all those items. You can start off with Biscuit, Ward, Elixir, or the little bottle, which is awesome, and a couple of wards. So you get lots of early wards, and early wards, it shuts down that jungle presence. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how people develop the masteries as time goes on. If they start switching into maybe aggressive masteries on support sometimes to go for kill lanes.
Yeah, I'm gonna take some notes here on Choo Choo's runes and masteries because I've been playing way too much Lux lately.
The movement speed in particular, that's for pick-off potential. Lux, they want to play a low-kill game and just pick off a couple of kills here or there and snowball from it. So he has a 21-9. That's very aggressive as far as damage is concerned. I'm a little bit surprised he didn't go into utility, but he wants to make sure that he's safe in lane and can trade effectively.
Right.
So those defensive runes or masteries are going to allow him to trade a little bit more effectively with Ari, who is a very strong laner. And if he gets low, then that's just death against Ari.
It's standard stuff coming in from Shen. I've been actually a lot of my top laners and my junglers. I've actually been taking both Relentless and Tenacious, just to have that extra crowd control resistance.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it a lot.
It can be pretty strong. There's a lot of options right now. Is the cool thing with runes and masteries.
Yeah, everyone's still trying to find their way. Everyone's still figuring stuff out. It's still early. It is still ridiculously early on in Season 3, and people kind of forget that for a second. We've been only here for about a month and a half now on this on these masteries and stuff, and there's still so much to be explored. I mean, I've been seeing Sejuani jungle quite a bit actually,
and that's the cool thing.
And that's weird, crazy stuff like that.
That's the cool thing. If people are open to change, then you can really try anything, and
right.
you can make your own champion, and they're yours to an extent. If you want to play, LeBlanc as support, you could potentially do it. I'm not sure how well it would work out. It might actually be pretty strong as far as harass.
And if you're gonna do it in normal. Please don't do it in ranked.
But you can do it in ranked. As long as you're not trolling your team, as long as you're legitimately putting in the effort and the thought that you're like, okay, I'm going to win with this, then you can go ahead and do it in ranked. It's no big deal. But it's something where you can experiment, and there's just a lot of options. There's a lot of potential, for exploration right now, which is very cool. And we'll get to see what they can do. I love that Amumu skin.
Dude,
it's Vancouver Amumu. If you guys don't remember, the Winter Olympics a couple of years ago. So that's a pretty rare skin to see. But
yeah,
we'll see what these teams can do. Both teams, stepping up. It's our first cast for quite some time since Season 3 has started now. I guess officially with the patches, but unofficially as far as competitive LoL.
It is officially unofficially.
Right.
Officially.
Exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was like, boom, nailed it.
Officially.
So we'll see what can happen here. I do like the picks for both teams, but Epik, their team is so freaking scary. It's all going to be down to the bot lane, really, for FXO. Their bot lane needs to win the lane, or just get Ezreal in a position where he can succeed. They need to be able to force fights early in the game that are small team fights, these small skirmishes that they can get Shen involved or whatnot, and turn around for a couple of kills. And then it's also about Lux. It's about bot lane and Lux for FXO. I really love the Olaf pick just because Olaf in general is a monster. Olaf is one of the coolest champions in the game. He has so much base damage. You can just build tanky very quickly. But he's going to put a lot of pressure onto MF, which is partially why that Ari pick is really good, because Ari gives them a very safe AP carry. Ari does very well against Olaf. Olaf just can't do anything against her. He's just running around, and Ari can kite him very easily. But then also Ari can dodge around Lux, avoid the binds, pick up a kill mid potentially, snare someone herself, lock someone down to start a fight, or even bait a fight just by dashing at the enemy team, maybe Zonias or something like that.
Right.
So we'll see where they go with this. And taking a look at some of the items real quick. I know a lot of you guys have, maybe seen some casts coming through Season 3. But I'll just run through them real quick. So one of the cool things that I love with the top lane is because the boots, the movement speed change that Riot implemented, you don't have to get boots first. And it's really just a smart decision not to in a lot of cases. Ezreal went it, but
only one pair.
That's because Misfortune and Sona is a very fast lane. And they are able to get a lot of burst damage off really quickly. So Ezreal needs to be able to kite that a little bit. So that's
Whoa.
definitely a good decision. But if you look at Jace's items, he actually has the little potion. So he has the little bottle there. He has a ward, which keeps him safe, which is not something that top laners used to be able to do, to buy a ward off the bat. And then just a shit ton of potions, which is awesome to be able to buy so many potions. You can diversify your build so much later on. But we'll see what's going on. Dandin starting off with the red, which is something that's been pretty common with the Mumu, with the machete. We saw it, not with the machete actually, going towards that Philosopher's Stone early. Which
is a little bit odd, but it's kind of weird. Like, I see him starting off on the small golems. Like, where are we back at season 1 already? That's the last time I remember starting at small golems. But hey, as we mentioned before, season 3 is pretty much here, so this is the time for experimentation.
Well, and at the same time, we've seen red first Amumu has been pretty popular recently. We saw it kind of start a little bit before IPL 5 and then through IPL 5 when Amumu was coming back into play. And I don't know, it's very safe. It's easier to defend the red. He gets some quick damage. It can open up the possibility for a level 2 gank, but you don't have to force it. So he's very safe. He's getting off to a good speed. But the cool thing about the golems is you're already getting a pull. Amumu kills Wraiths instantly. Why would you need help with Wraiths if you're going to instantly kill it? So he just gets help with the golems, since that's something he's going to struggle on. It gives him a little bit of an advantage.
Not too bad. It's not too bad of a start.
I do think it's interesting, though, that he is going for that Philosopher's Stone first, because you do usually expect the machete first. And that Philosopher's, or at least the items towards the Philosopher's Stone, I'm assuming he wants to get a really fast Shirelia's, and that is really going to go towards his ultimate and trying to force those early game fights. So that's a really aggressive build for Dan to be going for. It's a very safe build as well. But he's looking to try and just engage a full-on fight early on in the game. If he went for a machete, it'd slow him down a little bit. So definitely really cool there.
And not to mention, with the removal of Heart of Gold, you don't see these GP10 builds really much often, because that's how pivotal Heart of Gold was to the GP10 jungler. But you have the Philo Stone, still got it first, and also the Sight Stone. I like to think of it as essentially a Heart of Gold. You back enough, if you ward enough, which you should be doing, it makes that money back, and even more so.
Well, it is a Heart of Gold, basically, but it's even better. Yeah, you do make a lot more money off of it. It's really like one of my favorite items in the game right now, both on support and jungler. I think you can run 2 Sight Stones easily and not be disadvantaging yourself, because the best thing about it, not only do you get wards all over the place, but you never feel like you're wasting wards. You can just throw them all over the place and know that when you go back to the fountain, you're going to get more. And that allows you in team fights to be a lot more aggressive with ward placements. If you're fighting in the jungle, make sure to just constantly drop wards in the bushes as you're fighting and in bushes as you're retreating, because then it gives you that constant vision, to be able to win those exchanges. But we'll kind of see what's going on with this fight. Olaf actually making his way up top, just hanging out for a second, but he goes in. Shen getting in on Jace, but actually will be backing off for a second. The Ignite, it looks like he's going to go down, though. Does drop. Oh, barely getting out of there. The flash.
Waiting for the cooldowns on the Axe. Navatar staying by just in case Jace decides to stay around, but he does leave, and that is close. That is by a hair, and does burn the flash at the very least, but Westeray's going to have to take some time, go back, heal up. He's got quite a bit of money on him too, so that's actually a Vamp Scepter if he wants it.
Yeah, so we'll see what he decides to go with.
Brutalizer.
Yeah, it's pretty uncommon to go Vamp Scepter in the top lane, particularly Jace. Even before the changes, Brutalizer was like his #1 build. It's just a really strong item on him. So that's kind of to be expected. And he wants that harass damage versus Shen, and Shen just going straight into armor. So very safe, really strong build there. But we'll see what kind of both of these junglers do. Dandin coming, just getting the experience up top. So he's actually off to a slight advantage over Olaf. Or at least they're very even right now. But you're starting to see some of this harass in this bottom lane. And Sona is one of the best harass champions in the game, but Lulu is just insanely strong. And if played correctly, then the Lulu Ezreal lane can get off free harass. And that's what you're looking for, free damage. Glitter Lance and then a Mystic Shot on the way back. And they've slowly been able to wear down Shu8 here. Yep.
And granted, though, you've been able to wear it down, but it hasn't actually done a whole lot in terms of the farm. It's a 1 creep difference, actually, between the ADs. So actually, good on MF to actually get that farm underneath tower. Dandin coming in here in the mid. Salsa using the ultimate, wants to get the damage onto Chujulin. Bandage toss to follow up, only level 5 does not have the ultimate, but it may be more than enough. Laser, Salsa flashing out of the way, but Dandin stays behind. The Tears will pick up the Lux. Orb from Salsa missing onto the Olaf, wants to get the kill, but the charm will land. Dan Tears picking up the double off on the side and mid.
Oh man, the cooldown on Olaf's axe, just one undertow, and he maybe would have been able to pick that up if he had just been able to throw it onto Ari, but he's still holding on to the cooldown, and just barely they're able to exchange with them, which is really just a nice play from Epik, because Olaf is one of the strongest duelists in the game early on. So Olaf is very strong as well, and really it was the help from Ari that allowed him to win that exchange.
Yes.
But that's a nice early lead, and now Amumu has his ultimate, which is going to be really brutal, particularly since Ari has a low cooldown. They could potentially just try and fry Chuchu Lin in the mid lane, or maybe force a fight bot. Like the triple ult there, Amumu ult into a Sona, into an MF could be just insane.
Yep.
It'll be interesting to see, though. Lulu can be vulnerable to that, but Ezreal should be pretty safe in getting out.
So, both the ADs returning back down to bot lane. We're seeing both ADs actually got the Vamp Scepter, which I like now that it builds from the longsword. It delays a little bit so you don't have the immediate sustain going in straight out in the bot lane. It's not 450 anymore. You have to get the upgrade path. But you see MF actually opting for the Dorans for the extra sustain. Ruby Crystal onto Ezreal, going to be going for that Phage first.
And it's interesting, the sustain that you get from Dorans is pretty insignificant. People don't really buy it for the sustain as much anymore. Vamp Scepter is really just key. Everyone buys Vamp Scepter now. There's very few instances. Sometimes you can go without it, but usually you need it to lane. The only time you're not going to get Vamp Scepter is if you know you've already won your lane, or you've already lost and you need to just leave the lane and farm. But usually if it's an even laning phase, you have to get the Vamp Scepter, because otherwise you're going to lose to the harass of the enemy AD carry. But as far as the Dorans, he's really getting it for the health, so that he's not going to be bursted down. It gives him a little bit of damage, but it's really the health, because it makes him a little bit more survivable. He doesn't have to worry about insta-dying, to a combo, or Olaf tower diving or something like that. So we'll see where they go with that, but it still gives them a little bit of damage to upgrade. Right. Dan coming in here, JRT just barely spotting him. They do have that river ward, so he is going to be safe. I was kind of expecting a lane gank, though. Just walk right up the lane as opposed to coming down the river.
Well, at the very least, now with the retreat, now it's been confirmed by
actually,
Epik.
They do have a pink ward there, so they do have that lane gank covered.
They do have it. They do. So, we got 9 minutes in, 2 kills. Over on the side of Epik, both of them going to Amumu, going to Dan. So he's had actually quite a bit of a fair amount of extra money over the opposing Olaf, nearly 1,000 gold to be precise, and that translates into a giant spell, which is quite a bit of extra health.
Maybe getting in on Salse. And you could see what he actually used there is the vision advantage that you get. That's a really common thing to do with Lux or anyone with a bind. You get right up against the river wall, and right when you pull against it, the other mid, they lose vision there, and that gives you an opportunity to get in. Salse's safe, though. He's very tanky at this point. There's not going to be a lot that Lux can do in this lane now, so it's going to turn into a farm lane, and then Lux is going to hope for some kills outside of that lane.
Wards spotting out both the Olaf and the Amumu, but that will not be stopping Dan. Pings here in the North River. Ward in the brush will spot him out, and for the time being, you will have Shen. You will have Anxiety being a little, having a little bit of it at his own tower.
Yeah, and we'll see what both of these guys can do. The one nice thing about Jace is that he can just constantly push into Shen, and that's really going to turn into a farm lane, though it does seem like Dan actually might be coming up in this lane. There is a ward up there, so Shen really keeping himself safe with the double wards, but he will back off for a second. Yep. Lux started making their way up. JRT chasing him down with the Olaf presence, just getting some free damage. But
yep.
Both teams playing pretty cautiously right now, and that's something that I think, the game, it can snowball. It's always been able to snowball pretty quickly. There's a lot more comeback potential now with this patch. You can have early kills and not necessarily be GG, but neither of these teams really want to give up any kills, and we'll see what they do with it.
Salse spotted leaving lane, was heading down towards South River, but decides to change his mind. Navatar here down in bot, camping out the brush. But right now, the rest of FXO, they're still keeping the pace, keeping the push down here in bot rather constant. So it's going to be rough for Navi to get a little bit of an attempt here. And even when he entered in lane, He just came in from the tower, came in from the lanes. Like, I don't care if the minions see me. I'm all off.
It's interesting. The bot lane, it's been one for them so far. Dan actually coming up aggressively. If he gets the Vanish Toss, that's an easy kill on Shen. Shen just forced to back off. So this could actually turn into a turret. Dan, the minions blocking him here, so he's not going to get that Vanish Toss.
But here comes Lux on the side. That is the ult from Dan. Anxiety left behind, but taunts back to the tower. Choo Lin with the vision in the brush. Keeps him out at very least. Bind hidden down on the West Rise. JC is bound to with a tower shot. Will not even have to reach. That is a quick kill for Lux, and Dan needs to walk away from that one. Salsa a little bit too late from the party. Has to go back to mid.
A little bit hard to go in for that kill. I'm surprised they actually went for it. You know, Shen's pretty tanky early on. They could have just forced him off the turret and played that a little bit safer, but we'll see what kind of ends up happening. I was about to say before that fight that Amumu Dan was actually getting an advantage from Olaf sitting bot so much because bot has been pretty safe for FXO. They haven't been, or for EG, they haven't been forcing anything, but it's actually going to catch them a little bit here, but they do back off. But you've seen for the most part, Ezreal and Lulu, they've been pushing up aggressively against the turret, which hasn't really afforded Olaf any ganking opportunities. So for him to stay out of the jungle, it's actually given Dan a level advantage because Olaf was looking for those ganks.
Salsa returns to mid, but he was camping out in the brush behind FXO's red to see if he couldn't catch anybody out, returning back to the river. But recognizing that there could have been a sandwich for the Fox in the middle, Salsa decides to get back to mid, resume farming. Lux going back. Death cap at the 13-minute mark is always a good thing to see on any AP.
Yeah, it's definitely a really strong build. That's pretty standard on Lux. You don't have to get the boots first like you used to because of the movement speed upgrade. It's going to leave her a little bit vulnerable. She's still really squishy. She doesn't have quite the same ability if she was to get Sword Shoes, but we'll see what ends up happening there. West Rice getting some great harass onto Anxiety LOL, so he's really abusing him in that top lane. As the lane progresses, right now, Jace has a little bit of an advantage, but as it progresses and Shen gets a little bit tankier, he's just going to become this immovable object in that lane. And so that could maybe allow them to win that split. But so far, Jace has taken advantage there, so really nice play from him. But I'm curious if EG is going to try and start pressuring Lux. They haven't put a lot of pressure. They had the one kill, but I feel like there's a big opportunity for them to try and pick up kills there because Lux is still very squishy.
But EG will take the opportunity to try and force an objective here. That is a dragon attempt. It is warded by FXO. Daydreaming out in front with the Glitter Lance to keep the Sona MF slowed. Attempt on the seal from JRT. Just to get vision, just to see where the drain's at. There is the Lux laser. Will not get the steal on that one. That is a confirmed kill on Dragon for Dan. Banish toss down onto the Lulu. Forces to use the ult on himself with the ult from behind. Not enough to prevent death, and Choo win with the kill onto the Amumu as the rest of Epik breaks away, but look at top lane.
And the thing that won them that previous fight, Amumu they were able to grab the dragons. That's still in EG's advantage, like a big advantage, because it's about 2 kills for the dragon. But not only did they get the dragon, but they're close to getting top. I'm not sure if Jace is going to get there in time. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to get it. So if he gets it, when he does get it, that's a big advantage for them as far as gold is concerned. The only reason that FXO was even able to win that one fight, though, was the combo of Olaf and Shen. And EG, they played it pretty defensively. Salsa, he was trying to zone off Olaf, but then Olaf popped his ultimate, Shen ulted on him, and they just charged right at Salsa, and it forced him to ult towards mid lane and away from the rest of his team. Once Ahri was split, they knew that they were stronger than EG, and it allowed them to re-engage onto Amumu, who's already pretty low, because Amumu tends to take a lot of damage against Dragon. But that's fine. EG knew exactly what they were playing it. You know, they were ready for that. So it was a nice fight by FXO, but still falling behind in gold. It's a 3K gold disadvantage right now, even though the kills are even. And that's definitely a tough spot to be in. Salsa in a really dangerous spot here, though the rest of them chasing him down. The ultimate is down for Ahri. Cannot escape so easy. Same thing with the fight, but the Lux laser will catch Salsa. Trying to get back to the lane. So Dan tried to save the day. Just gives up a double kill straight to Choo, and that is unfortunate. Refresh on the blue buff at that. And that's exactly what they want here. Ahri, the ultimate, was barely not up, so it was really good timing on FXO's part. But they want those quick pick-off kills. That's the benefit of Lux. Pick up those kills, take a turret. Now, they are still losing in the bottom lane, so you have to watch out that they're maybe not going to lose this turret. I think they have time. Ezreal is going to be able to clear that with his ultimate. But Katana, Westrice walking right into them. Holy crap, he goes down almost immediately. So that's another kill, 3 kills in a row, and they lose the mid turret. So that is absolutely brutal for EG right now. Really nice advantage for them. They do lose the bot lane. So,
Right.
you know, bot turret, nice job, but still, really nice play from FXO to bring them back into this game.
And with that sequence of events, with that sequence of 3 kills, that is now nearly a 1,000 gold lead that the AP for FXO has over the AP of Epik. But, as we mentioned before, the gold, there's still a bit of a disparity. Shen, taking the top tier 1, brings the gap slightly closer, so it's now about 1,000 gold separating these two teams. And just to think, a few moments ago, that was 3K. That was 2 towers and a dragon ahead. And things like that happen. You feed 3 kills, those small leads, those objective-based leads melt.
Yeah, no, it does kind of go a little bit. It's still a 1K gold advantage for EG, but I don't know, we'll see. At this point, though, even with those quick kills, which is exactly what FXO wants in order to run their team, they want those quick kills. EG's in a perfect position now to force a team fight and just obliterate them. And that's going to be a really big concern for FXO. And that's one of the cool things with the junglers now. They made the change to get the junglers a lot more involved and the supports, and you're seeing that a lot more. Both junglers and supports are a lot more involved. You look at Dan Din, he has the Sunfire cape very early in the game. He is incredibly tanky. He has a lot of AoE damage. Ahri is very close to finishing off that Rabadon's. Once Ahri finishes the Rabadon's, then they're just going to have so much damage to be able to win a fight. You see Misfortune went for the Bloodthirster as well. So they are very strong at this point in the game, and that's very scary for FXO. But as long as FXO can continue to split the lanes, you'll start to see them pick up kills and continue to pick up an advantage, because now we're getting to the point, like I talked about, that Shen is starting to win that split against Jace. And once he starts winning that split against Jace, it's going to force EG to group. And Lux is one of the best stalling champions in the game. So if EG groups and Lux just stalls them under a turret, this game could really quickly turn against EG and farm.
Yep, Shen's got quite a bit of armor on him now, 166 armor. And the Sunfire Cape helps him push immensely. Dan Din here in the bot lane trying to get a catch onto JRT or into Daydream, and he is there. The flash is ready, the ult is ready. Just in Misfortune, give him the word, and that is a wombo combo of ultimates ready to happen. Dan Din getting in position.
Olaf and Lux are coming down, though.
There's Olaf coming on in, and he's got an Oracles of his own. But you will see MF and Amumu retreat back to the safety of their tier 1 here in bot. How's it doing here on health? Actually still a pretty good condition.
And it's really interesting. Oracles right now, they changed it so it only lasts for 4 minutes. Dan Din, he actually could come over the wall here. The bandage toss doesn't hit it, so they have to back off. But some quick damage, and it is going to even out here. But the Oracles, it's a 4-minute lasting Oracles now. It doesn't last forever. So it's kind of an interesting play here that we're seeing from FXO, because they're doing a really nice job of controlling the map so far. And that's something we talked about earlier, is how easy it can be to control a map with wards, and since you don't get Oracles a lot, but they're making the play that they're saying, all right, these next 4 minutes, we're going to crush you guys. We're going to run around, we're going to clear these wards, we're going to push aggressively on turrets, and they never want them to be able to force a fight. Oh man, almost another bandage toss. But
Fool me once.
as long as they can clear some wards, pick up some turrets, some kills or whatnot, and not allow EG to force a team fight where they instantly lose, then that's a big win for FXO. So it's a really safe play from them.
Yeah, you're going to see Dan. He's not going to stop in that tri-brush again. That's 2 attempts. I doubt he's going to get the 3rd one. They know, they're wise. There is the ward over, still in the brush. Amumu just, he's being spotted out at every single avenue, or just missing the bandage tosses in some instances. But the dragon has respawned. FXO in a significantly better position now to respond to this attempt. Salse off onto the side, throwing down the orb, trying to keep the Olaf away. But Epik decides to retreat back up the ramp over to their blue. FXO's turn now to grab the dragon if they so desire, but Chuchulin's a little bit too far away for the rest of the team. But there is the binding and the laser for a little bit of front-loaded damage. Dan Din, though, still with the flash, still with the ultimate ready to go. Speed boost from Sona and Jace. He wants to kill Dan Din. Flash for flash. Finally gets the bandage toss ultimate onto Chuchulin. The Shen ult will not be enough to protect that AP carry, and the rest of FXO is ready to scramble. Salse with the ultimate orb, trying to catch Daydreamin', but pushes all of FXO out of their own jungle, steals the red, and they're going right back to that dragon next.
Yeah, FXO did a particularly good job of kiting in that situation, which is the strength of their team. But Epik, with the Jace pick, you know, that really strong acceleration gate, they're able to chase him down, and they're able to force a fight. And it's only 1 kill, but they're able to grab the dragon as well. Olaf actually coming in. They might turn this around. Olaf, he's jumping right into the middle of the fight.
That is the Ghost handing off on the side, but MFL catches 3 members of FXO, and that was pretty much all he needed. Salse helps with the cleanup, and even Golden Boy gets a kill off that.
That's exactly what they can't have happen, because they lost the Oracles.
Yeah.
You know, it was only about halfway, so it was about 2 minutes left, but still, that's a couple hundred gold down the drain. They lose a big team fight, and that's the strength of the AoE from EG.
Yes.
And that's one of the things. When you have a really strong AoE team fight comp, you know you can force objectives. So the Dragon, they were at an advantage with that Dragon, because FXO, they can't kite them all day and expect to contest it. After the Dragon was already done, they saw Dan Din was low. They knew that his ult was down. They thought they'd take a chance on it. They thought, all right, the Mumu ult down, you know, maybe we're still strong enough to do this, but they lined up perfectly and hit the Sona ult for the MF ult. And that's just so much damage with that MF ult right now, particularly, you know, since she went for the early damage build and now going with the Black Cleaver as well. So really a lot of damage coming out of Misfortune.
It's way too much damage. If the Bloodthirster wasn't hurtful enough, that thing is fully stacked at that. So to have all the extra armor shred coming from the Cleaver, that just plain hurts. And does that also proc on the ult, I believe?
I think so. I don't actually know. I believe it does.
Either way,
I'm not sure.
Even if you don't get it, even if you don't get that, it still hurts like a lot.
Dan Din can maybe get in, just barely not able to catch that. But it's interesting though. Going with the Black Cleaver, it's a very aggressive build, and it's something we're seeing more on AD carries. Brutalizer has always been a very strong item on AD carries, but you don't usually get it because it didn't have an upgrade path.
Right.
You want to get into those deep item builds, but it gives MF cooldown reduction. It gives her, you know, that armor pen, and with the changes to how armor pen works with the percentage pen happening, and then you get the actual armor pen, it just makes armor pen that much better to get. But a lot of times it's actually sometimes better to get it on a non-AD carry, but and allow the procs to happen. But it gives MF a lot of great stats. It gives her health as well. She's pretty tanky actually as far as an MF is concerned. With that Doran's and with that Black Cleaver, you look at how much health she has, almost 2k. So pretty tanky right now. But she does miss out on that attack speed.
Yes.
And that's something that's really interesting. With the changes that Riot made to the items, there's a lot of cool things you get with the items, but you have to make some sacrifices a lot more. You don't get the crit damage that you do with the Infinity Edge. You don't get the attack speed that you would get, you know, with the Phantom Dancer or whatnot. But this is a safe build, and I really like it because MF against assassins, you know, against Olaf and Lux, it's going to be difficult for her to use that movement speed and attack speed and just be auto-attacking. What she can use, though, is the ult and just destroy someone. And that's where she's going for. She's going for that cooldown reduction. Lux almost grabbing Sona. I'm a little bit surprised that he missed the bind there. He probably could have gotten that, but you know, barely able to get out of there.
And remember, the name of the game for EG here is ult synergy. Choo Lin caught under charm, does get back, albeit at half health, behind that tier 1. And yeah, ult synergy. If you have it and MF's in the neighborhood, you're in a lot of trouble. JRT with the ultimate, and Shen ult down here in the bot lane. Cat 8 in trouble, taunted by the Shen, will go down here. Nice engage from JRT down here in bot. Nice coordination with the Shen also.
Well, it was a nice play, but EG, they were ready for it. They know that the Misfortune is vulnerable split pushing against Shen.
Yes.
That's always the danger. A bandage shots actually from Dan Din, another ultimate, only gets 1 kill, but that's perfectly fine for them. So they have 2 free turrets in the mid lane because of that play. Salse actually going in for Navatar here, almost picking up the kill, and does actually grab it.
Yeah, Choo Lin now also caught by the Sona ult. Made quick work of there. JRT now back at the base, but for how long? The pressure from Salse, the damage may be too much. Dan Din, double kill, actually grabbed up by Jace. Anxiety brought back to these to his tier 3 here in bot. But that does still get the shutdown onto Salse, but you're losing your tier 2 in mid. The push can still continue for Epik if they so desire. Lux is going to be down for another 20 seconds. Same thing with the Ezreal. They're going to play it safe. They're going to fall back. MF returning down to the bot lane to keep that farm up and high. And indeed, it is actually matching toe-to-toe with the Ezreal. But look over at JRT. He has not yet finished his Trinity. He does have the Bloodthirster. You do have a bit of a lead itemized here for the AZ.
He's farming very well at this point, though.
Yeah.
Both of them are. You know, they're both very deep into their builds. You know, so he's going to have a lot of damage. But Really, it's interesting. It's not so much about having damage. I mean, damage is just, you know, so easy in this patch. You have just so much damage on all champions. It's a lot about grouping, how you're grouping with the team, and that's something that a lot of teams haven't figured out yet. It seems EG has, so they've been really good about pushing objectives right there, knowing that MF is going to pull off the Shen, and then they're able to get 2 towers because of it. So it's going to be interesting to see how FXO stops this, because this is coming into the game. This is one of the keys to the game. That was a concern, you know, because that was how they had lost against Marn. They lost to this aggressive, you know, pushing, and I don't know. We'll see how they continue to deal with it.
Yeah, and earlier on in the game, you saw a 2-tower lead on the side of Epik, but it was still only a minuscule 2-3K lead at that point. Here now again, heading into the mid-game, 2-tower lead, but a significantly larger lead at this juncture, 6K in the lead, even with only 2 kills over. And you have objectives like this, which are really the key. The Dragon getting ready to respawn Pink Ward, just waiting for the moments until he comes back and Epik can give that Dragon a nice warm hello.
Yeah, so they're able to control the objectives very well, which is exactly what EG needed to do with this team fight-oriented team. They needed to be able to control the objectives. They could force a fight here, though.
Navachar out in front, uses the ultimate immediately to get away from the Sona ult, but Daydreaming caught behind. MF ult right on the tail end, picking up that one. Anxiety throws down a taunt just to keep the rest of Epik away, but there's Salse in the mid, gets the kill onto the edge. Choo Lin way out in front of the team, probably just admitting death. I know I'm going to go down, might as well try and make a difference, but unfortunately that will not happen. All 5 members of Epik are still up and healthy. Salse the only one at half, and that is a mid-tier 3 going down. Westrice also a little weak, but it's fine. He's got his Bloodthirster. He can get back some of the health easy too. Mid inhib, now down. Epik in an amazing position here on the 28-minute mark.
Well, really great chasing potential from Epik. And Dan going for that aggressive build, Sunfire into the Warmogs. He basically wants to be unkillable.
Right.
And he basically is right now.
Right.
FXO, they just don't have the damage to deal with them. You know, the quick burst damage that Olaf has, that true damage, and, you know, that's sustained damage, it's countered by health.
Right.
Lux, burst damage, countered by health.
He's a third giant spell.
Right, Ezreal tends to struggle with high health champions. That's Ezreal's biggest weakness. He's one of the highest survivability champions in the game, but he struggles taking down those tankier champions. So having so much HP just allows Dan to just be a boss and just chase right into FXO. That's exactly what he's doing. He's just having his way with them right now. But really nice play a lot of times from FXO, but right there, the chasing potential from EG. And you saw FXO, they had to run in terror because they can't match up to them in team fights. That means that if they can't match up to them in team fights, they need to pick people off. And that's something we haven't seen for a little bit, them trying to force fights and pick people off, because they need to force those small skirmishes. Otherwise, EG's just going to continue to group, continue to push objectives, and continue to win team fights. So right now, FXO, they need wards, and they need to be able to grab people with Lux.
And also try not to invest once again the Oracles. We saw it happen last time with Olaf. And this is really where we're starting to see a huge rise in popularity of more and more pink wards. 1, 2, 3, just in front of the Baron area. You're seeing a lot more pink wards, and you know, there's a reason, because in instances like this, where you have a temporary Oracles now, it's no longer permanent, you really get a lot for your money with those pinks. And Dandan out in front. He's got the health. How much health does he have? He's got nearly 4,000 right out in front, tanking that Baron for the rest of the team. Navatar caught out on the back end. 1/3 of his health taken away by one Salse combo. And the Baron's about to go down. They can't do anything.
Well, EG's just so strong in team fights. If they tried to defend it, they'd be stuck in those narrow corridors in the river, and they would be susceptible to one big ult from EG that would just end the game. So they have to just back off, give the free Baron to EG.
Ward out in the middle of the lane to try and get an advantage point. Nice shift away from the Ezreal, escaping that bandage toss from Dandan. But there's a pretty healthy wave down here in the bot lane pushing. So that is an attempt on the bot tier 2. Jace crossing the line. You do not want to cross this gate, otherwise you may be in trouble.
Sona's coming in behind them, though. That's kind of an interesting play, but
it's
they're
risky.
Splitting off Ahri to try and push down the mid as they push the bottom, and then Sona can force the fight, Dan, or he can force it himself.
Bandage toss followed up by the Amumu ult. Where is the Sona ult? Waiting for the right timing. There it is. Lulu goes down without a whole lot of effort. Shen ult on the JRT, but not going to be used all the way because Ari's taking care of business back up in the mid, and that is an ace for free from Epik, and this is going to be game.
Yeah, that's GG for EG. Really impressive play from them. You know, just using that aggressive team comp to the best advantage they could. It was an even game for a while. FXO did some nice things early on, but the second that EG was able to start grouping, they just obliterated them with that team comp. So we'll see what EG is going, or what FXO is going to do in this upcoming game. I mean, now, you know, getting the first pick, that's going to change around a couple of things. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. Oh, they had the first pick the last game. So second pick, that could change up some things. You know, maybe, definitely, at least not allow EG to get this ridiculous AoE comp.
Yeah, and I've been seeing a lot of Amumu bans in ranked, and right there, that is a perfect reason as to why you don't let some people have Amumu.
Well, in ranked, even more so, Amumu just like it. He makes, honestly, in solo queue, he makes bad players perform well because you AoE ult, and then, you know, anyone can just right click and attack as an AD carry when they're stunned or snared right in front of you. Anyone can use their abilities. But there, you know, you saw really effective play from Mandin, able to, you know, force those fights. He was just so tanky. He could just charge straight at FXO, and they didn't have a good means of dealing with him. They could kite him, but they didn't have enough damage to kite him and then turn that around into a win. Usually, if you have a kite team, you want to be able to just slowly wear down your opponents as they're charging at you. And FXO didn't have that potential.
No.
So we'll kind of see what happens in the second game.
We will see what kind of potential comes in. We'll be back in just a little bit. The IPL Killing Spree will continue. Game number 2 coming up. Epik Gamer versus FXO.